Are you okay?
Chevy is called the heartbeat of America for a reason.
So fast, so fine. Got another provider, leave them behind. Come on, everybody, let's get.
Dude, what the fuck?
Can you learn calculus in the time it takes to watch a long movie? It is. In fact, calculus is all about performing two operations on functions. That's it. That's calculus. The first operation is called differentiation. Are that whether you're into some helpful practice-oriented videos by others. Whether you're new to calculus, studying it now, or just want a refresher, I hope you'll find this video informative and engaging. My only assumptions are that you're already familiar with functions and algebra. So here we go. Calculus is the study of change and rates of change of mathematical functions.
Fuck yeah, bro. Fuck yeah.
When we use calculus, we perform operations. On functions that result in different functions. This isn't a new idea at all. We perform operations such as addition on numbers to get new numbers. We operate on sets to get new sets, on matrices to get new matrices, and we can operate on functions to get new functions. In fact, you've probably already done this in algebra when you had a function and found its inverse. We start with a function, f of x, and write out f in terms of x and y, so that y equals some function of x. Then we rewrite the equation switching x and y. Then solve the second equation for y, and that's the inverse of the first function. So we start with a function, perform an operation on it, and get a new function. The point is, taking an existing function and performing some operation on it to get a new function isn't a new or advanced math concept, and that's really what calculus is. In fact, calculus is all about performing two operations on functions. That's it. That's calculus. The first operation is called differentiation. When we differentiate a function, the new resulting function is called the derivative of the first function. The derivative is the first topic we'll cover. Learning to take the derivative of a wide variety of function types is roughly the first semester of calculus. The second.
I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Calculus op. Operation is called integration. When we integrate a function, the new resulting function is called the integral of the first function. Integration is roughly the second semester of calculus. And there's a wonderful relationship between these two operations that we'll get to at just the right time. When functions are simple, these operations are simple, and calculus is simple. It's when the functions we operate on get complex that calculus seems complex. So if calculus has a reputation for being a difficult subject, it's not really calculus's fault. We'll start with the derivative and consider a simple function.
Want to strengthen your math and computer science skills?
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you.
Equals x minus 1. This is a linear function, so its graph is a straight line. I said calculus was the study of change and rates of change, and the rate of change of a straight line is its slope, rise over run, delta y over delta x. I like to color code things in my videos. I'm using blue for x coordinates and distances, and yellow for y, and I'll use pink for slope or rates of change. I won't draw a lot of attention to the colors and may not mention them again, but their consistent use may let you see some apparent order or pattern that might not otherwise be clear. For a straight line, it's easy to find the slope. Just pick any 2 points and subtract their y and x coordinates to get delta y over delta x. Delta y is 3 minus 0, this distance, the difference between the yellow y coordinates. And delta x is 4 minus 1. This distance, the difference between the blue x coordinates. So for this linear function, the slope is 3 over 3, or positive 1. For every unit x changes, y changes by 1 times that amount, since the slope is 1. If the slope were positive 1/2, Then when x changes by some amount, y changes by positive 1/2 as much. If the slope were -2, then when x changes, y changes by -2 times as much. That is, 2 times as much, but in the opposite direction. Y would get smaller as x gets larger. When the graph line is horizontal, the slope is 0 because y never changes, so delta y is 0. When the graph line is vertical, the slope is undefined because x never changes. Delta x is 0, so delta y over delta x is undefined since the denominator is 0. Everything's nice and simple when the function is linear, but what about the function f of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 1? The graph of this function is a parabola, so now the question, what's the slope, prompts a new question in response. Where do you mean? Because the slope is smoothly changing, it's different at different points. Suppose we wanted to find the slope of the function at x equals 1.6, here. Now, if you know calculus, or more specifically the rules of differentiation that we'll cover soon, then within a few seconds you can figure out that the slope at x equals 1.6 is 1.2. If you don't know calculus yet, I promise that soon you'll know how to do this. But without calculus, it's not easy. After all, slope is rise over run, delta y over delta x. But with just one point, where does delta y come from? Or delta x? Slope is the rate of change, and there's no change at a single point. There's only a change between 2 points. So it's a tricky question. We could eyeball it by drawing our best attempt at a line tangent to the curve at x equals 1.6, then measure the slope. It won't be very accurate. It's not always easy to draw an accurate tangent line, but without calculus, that might be an option. But let me show another way. In the 1600s, the great minds that developed calculus approached the problem this way. I'll zoom in on our grid at the red point of interest, where x equals 1.6. We want to know the slope at the red point. I warned you I like to color code things. Let's choose a nearby point, green, and find the slope, delta y over delta x, between red and green. So we estimate the slope at red as the slope of the pink line between red and green, delta y over delta x. It'll be pretty close, and the closer green is to red, the better the estimate. This is the approach that will lead us to the derivative. The x value of our red point, where we want to know the slope, is 1.6. We find the y value by plugging 1.6 into the function, and we get 0.36. Let's choose a nearby x value for the green point. Let's say 1.601. So we find the y value for the nearby green point by plugging 1.601 into our function to get 0.361201. Remember, here's our function. Y equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. We can easily find the slope delta y over delta x between 2 points given their coordinates. And we get 1.201, the slope between red and green, which is our estimate for the slope at red. Calculus will tell us, I promise, that the slope at red is 1.2. So our estimate is very close. The closer we let green get to red, the closer the estimate will get to 1.2. So let's prove it. We'll still choose a nearby green point, but now, instead of choosing an actual small distance away from red, such as 0.001 or 0.0001, we'll use a variable for the tiny x distance to green and call it h. The coordinates of the red point are still 1.6, 0.36, but let's consider the coordinates of the green point. Its x-coordinate is 1.6 plus h, and its y-coordinate is the function's value when we plug in 1.6 plus h for x. Now let's find the slope as delta y over delta x. Delta y is the y-coordinate of the green point, f of 1.6 plus h. minus the y-coordinate of the red point, which is still 0.36. I'm shading the components to the color of the corresponding point, and delta x is the x-coordinate at green, 1.6 plus h, minus the x-coordinate at red, 1.6. The denominator, delta x, looks pretty easy to simplify. 1.6 plus h minus 1.6 is simply h. This makes sense. We chose h over here to be delta x. So to find delta y over delta x, we'll need to expand this expression by taking our function f of x and rewriting it, substituting 1.6 plus h in for x. This is just algebra, so I'm showing it quickly. Pause if you want to step through the details. We end up with this expression for the y value of the nearby green point. So we can now find delta y over delta x, 0.36 plus 1.2h plus h squared minus 0.36 all over h. The plus 0.36 and minus 0.36 cancel, leaving us with 1.2h plus h squared over h. As long as h is not 0, which it's not, it's some tiny change, but not 0, then we can cancel an h from each term, and the slope delta y over delta x is 1.2 plus h. Let's remember that we said h was an arbitrarily small number. We're going to find the limit of delta y over delta x as h approaches 0. You may be familiar with the concept of the limit from studying discontinuous functions in algebra. We write the limit like this. LIM, and underneath a variable, right arrow, and a literal value. We read this as the limit as h approaches 0. In our case, the limit of 1.2 plus h as h approaches 0. As h gets closer and closer to 0, the expression 1.2 plus h gets closer and closer to 1.2. So the limit is 1.2, and that's delta y over delta x. The slope at the red point, or at least the slope as delta x, we call it h, approaches 0. And now we can continue our dialogue. What's the slope? Where do you mean? At x equals 1.6. The slope there is 1.2 that we found by taking the slope between two very close points at the limit as the difference between their x-coordinates approached 0. I want to review this equation again, which is how we estimate the slope of a function at a point using algebra. You'll see this important expression in the first chapter of every single calculus textbook. We're going to use it several more times, and I want to make sure you're comfortable with it. It's the algebra behind estimating the slope at the red point as the slope between the red point and the nearby green point, delta y over delta x. The difference between the y-coordinates is delta y, the numerator of our slope estimate. The difference between the x-coordinates is delta x, the denominator of our slope estimate. We just need to come up with expressions for these differences. The x-coordinate of the red point is simply x. So the red y-coordinate is the function's value at x, f of x. The x-coordinate of the nearby green point is x plus h. H is the small delta x amount we added to x to get a nearby point. So the green y-coordinate is the function's value at x plus h, f of x plus h. So for the numerator, we can plug in the difference, f of x plus h minus f of x. I can include the green and red memory aid, y-coordinate of green minus y-coordinate of red.
I want to go watch The Odyssey, but I have no one to go see it with, so I don't feel like watching a movie by myself.
Denominator, we get x plus h minus x, green x-coordinate minus red x-coordinate. Well, it doesn't get written out this way very often since x plus h minus x so obviously simplifies to h. And h is the small distance we deliberately chose for delta x in the first place. So the denominator is usually just h, same thing. So when you see this expression, please think of this triangle and the rise over run slope it represents, delta y over delta x. 2 quick points. First, I'm illustrating a positive slope, but if the slope were negative, the expression will correctly result in a negative estimate for the slope, since f of x is greater than f of x plus h. Subtracting a larger number from a smaller will result in a negative number. H is always positive since it's the small delta x we added to x, so the equation works for positive and negative slopes. The second point is the key idea that uses this expression as the entryway into calculus. Let me make a copy of the diagram and expression. The top and bottom start out identical, but I'm going to make changes to the bottom to transform it, step by step, into the key foundation of calculus. We used the limit a moment ago to find that the slope of our function was 1.2. When we take the limit as delta x approaches 0, something very special happens. First, the nearby green point approaches the red point. That's pretty obvious since h is the distance between their x-coordinates and it's approaching 0. Second, the expression is no longer an estimate of the slope, it is the slope, or what we call the derivative. So let me change the header. The expression at the limit isn't the algebraic estimate of the slope, it's the algebraic definition of the derivative. And there's one more important change. At the limit, delta y and delta x get new names and symbols. They're called dy and dx. The d stands for differential. We'll talk more about it soon. On the top is the estimated slope of a curve based on nearby points. On the bottom is the definition of the derivative at the limit as the horizontal distance between the 2 points approaches 0. So here's how we use the limit to find the derivative at 1.6. There was a lot of algebra involved to get to our answer, 1.2, but no calculus, yet. You might not believe me, but you will soon. Calculus is easier than taking limits. Taking limits with algebra is tedious. This is tedious. Certainly not difficult, but time-consuming and prone to errors if you're not careful. And when I promised to show you how you could know almost immediately that the slope at 1.6 was 1.2, I was not talking about doing all this algebra in your head. Calculus is easier than this, and I'll show you there's just one more key step. The destination will make the journey worth it. So we just found the slope of the function at x equals 1.6 by plugging 1.6 into the function and finding the slope to a nearby green point. Now let's see what happens when we generalize. We'll algebraically evaluate delta y over delta x at the variable value x instead of the specific value 1.6. The delta y over delta x formula has the same parts. The y-coordinate of the nearby green point is f of x plus h. The y-coordinate of the red point is f of x. The x-coordinate of the green point is x plus h, and the x-coordinate of the red point is x. The denominator, of course, simplifies to h. So when we expand f of x plus h, we get x plus h squared minus 2 times x plus h plus 1. And you can see the correspondence to the terms in the function. We just plug in x plus h for x, expand, and simplify using algebra. So here's the x-coordinate of the green point in terms of x. It's the first term in the numerator of our delta y over delta x slope expression. Next, we need to subtract f of x, which is right here, minus f of x. Three terms cancel, and we're left with these terms as delta y, h squared plus 2xh minus 2h. The denominator is h, the arbitrarily small number we chose for delta x. We cancel an h from each term and get delta y over delta x equals h plus 2x minus 2. Let's take the limit as h approaches 0. We get 2x minus 2. Now, let's pause for a moment and appreciate what we've just. Just done.
This is a free Cubanix, so stick around. Go to bootcamp.com/MCAT and click Start for free. Use the
We have an expression for the slope of the function y equals x squared minus 2x plus 1 in terms of x. Have we just found a function that returns the slope of another function? Let's call the second function f prime of x and try it out. More on this prime notation shortly. A moment ago, we found that the slope at x equals 1.6 is 1.2. So let's try out our new general function f prime of x at 1.6. We get 2 times 1.6 minus 2. 3.2 minus 2. Yes, we get 1.2, just like before. Let's try. By this point, at the vertex of the parabola, where x equals 1, it looks like the slope we get should be 0. F prime of 1 equals 2 times 1 minus 2. Yes, it's 0. And we have indeed found the function f prime of x that returns the slope of f of x for any value of x. And now we can finish our dialogue with the broader question. What's the slope of this function at any x? And the answer for this function is 2x minus 2, because this will return the slope of x squared minus 2x plus 1 for any x. So we've just performed the first calculus operation, differentiation. We started with a function, f of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 1, and we performed an operation on it to yield a new function, the first function's derivative, f prime of x equals 2x minus 2. The derivative of a function evaluates the slope of that function at every x value. We found the derivative the hard way, by taking limits and crunching through algebra. I'll show a simpler way in a moment, but regardless of the method, we've just performed the differentiation operation to get the derivative of a function. Since the derivative of a function is just another function, we can graph it also. The pink line is f prime of x equals 2x minus 2. F prime of x is a common notation for the derivative of f of x. I'll cover some notation conventions in a moment. The pink line represents the derivative of the white parabola. So of course the derivative's value at x equals 1.6 is 1.2. The slope of the parabola at x equals 1.6. Let's go over some vocabulary and notation concerning derivatives. With slopes, we quite naturally speak of delta y over delta x, the slope between 2 points. This ratio gets closer and closer to the slope at x as delta x gets closer and closer to 0. In calculus, we introduce new terms for delta x and delta y that have the limit as delta x approaches 0 concept built in. We say that the limit as delta x approaches 0 of delta x is dx. We use lowercase d instead of the Greek letter delta as calculus shorthand that means at the limit. So when you see d, it means at the limit as the change to the independent variable, often x, approaches 0. One more time, instead of writing all this, you can just write this, which means the same thing. It's common to think of dx as the slightest, tiniest change in x, and this thought might serve you well, but dx is really whatever delta x becomes as it gets closer and closer to 0. It's an idea that we treat like a number. dx is called the differential of x. I'll have to draw it with some sort of thickness so we can see it, but it's actually unimaginably narrow. dy is the differential of y, which is delta y at the limit. But it's not the limit as delta y approaches 0. Like dx, it's also the limit as delta x approaches 0. dy is the interesting thing we observe as delta x gets closer and closer to 0. So at the limit as delta x approaches 0, our ratio, delta y over delta x, becomes dy over dx. This is the derivative. The ratio dy divided by dx is the differential of y with respect to x. It's often said out loud as dy by dx, or simply dy dx. Let me show you some other ways you might see the derivative represented. This notation denotes a differential change in something with respect to x. We can pull the something out of the ratio, it means the same thing. This part means the change or derivative with respect to x, and this part is what we're taking the derivative of. Since y equals f of x, we could also write d by dx of f of x.
AI is killing our kids' ability to think, when it should be making them geniuses.
Fuck you.
Introducing Koji from Brilliant, the
Koji.
world's smartest AI tutor for math.
I don't think so,
It means-
bitch. Not at my fucking house. Not in this fucking house.
It's the same thing. And since f of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 1, we could also write d by dx of x squared minus 2x plus 1. They all mean the same thing. Hopefully the symbology is clear. Differential of something with respect to the corresponding differential of x. I mentioned this one earlier, but derivatives of functions can also be represented with the prime or single quote character. F prime of x is the derivative of f of x. So these are all different representations of the same calculus concept, the derivative of f of x with respect to x. We've been using x and y as our independent and dependent variables, which is quite natural considering these are the standard Cartesian coordinate system variables. And we often represent the dependent variable y as a function of the independent variable x, like this. But you should know that other variables can be used. For example, in physics and engineering, the independent variable is often time, if the function we're operating on represents something that can change over time. For example, s equals f of t could represent the displacement of a particle from a starting point at time t. In this case, the derivative of the function is ds by dt, not dy by dx. I just don't want you to get locked into x and y and not recognize calculus concepts when you see them referencing different variables. As it happens, the independent variable t for time is so common that there is an additional shorthand representation for the derivative of a function with respect to time, f dot. A function label with a dot over it represents the derivative of that function
F dot.
with respect to time. Now let's go over the basic rules of differentiation, which are rules and techniques to find the derivative of various types of functions. And the big payoff is that the rules will let us find the derivatives without the time-consuming process of taking limits. Covering the rules of differentiation will take some time, as this is essentially the entire first semester of calculus. And I'm going
Where's your head at? Where's your head at?
To take limits to show you that the rules are true and correct and give you insight into why they work. On the left are 5 types of functions. Each rule is a special shortcut for taking the derivative of that function type. The shortcuts are a result of observing the pattern. That reveals itself when we take the limit.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, $118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying, okay?
You'll see what I mean. On the right side are the rules or shortcuts for how to find the derivatives of combinations of function types on the left. So that you don't give up hope, let me tell you exactly what we'll be doing. I'll start with these 4 rules on the top, the combinations of function types on the left. Perhaps cuts are a result of observing the pattern that reveals itself when we take the limit. You'll see what I mean. On the right side are the rules or shortcuts for how to find the derivatives of combinations of function types on the left. So that you don't give up hope, let me tell you exactly what will be going. I'll start with these 4 rules on the top. Then I'll show you some super shortcuts involving these 4 rules. At this point, I'll keep my promise because you'll be able to differentiate x squared minus 2x plus 1 almost instantly in your head. And you'll know that the derivative at x equals 1.6 is 1.2. By this time, we'll know enough calculus to set up and solve some interesting problems. Then I'll introduce the second derivative and higher order derivatives, and then we'll finish the rules of differentiation with these last 5 rules. I'll show this agenda again so we can keep track of our progress. Covering these topics, we'll finish the first calculus operation, differentiation. After that, we'll learn the second calculus operation, integration. So, let's dive in. We'll start with the derivative of a constant. If we have a function f of x equals a constant, such as 3, its graph would be a horizontal line. I'm going to make constants green. No matter what value we choose for x on the horizontal axis, the function returns 3, and the slope is 0. This is true for any constant c. Since there's no change to the function's value as x changes, the derivative is 0. We write the generalization like this. d by dx of c equals 0, where c is any constant. It says that the derivative of a constant is 0, and that's the constant rule. We're not cheating or saying anything new. If we were to again let 2 points get closer and closer to each other and apply the limit to the slope expression, we would get 0. We'd get 0 every time because we'd always get c minus c here. All of these rules of differentiation are generalizations of what happens to the slope as we take the limit. We simply notice the pattern, like we did here for constants, and then use the pattern instead of taking limits. And that's why calculus, at least differentiation, is easier than algebra. The next pattern, or rule of differentiation, is called the power rule. Heads up, the power rule is a bit...
What's up, Denzel? Holy shit. We have Denzel in the fucking chat. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Can you guys fucking believe that we have Denzel in the fucking chat? No fucking way.
Big part of how you can take the derivative of x squared minus 2x plus 1 in your head. I'll show the rule with some examples, then I'll show how it can be visualized. I'll tell you the power rule first, then I'll prove it's true in a few minutes. The power rule is applied to powers of x, like x squared, x cubed, x to the fourth, and so on. It says that the derivative of x to the n is n times x to the n minus 1. It looks horrible, but every calculus student in history just remembers this about the power rule. Bring the exponent downstairs and subtract 1. So to find the derivative of x cubed, we take the exponent, 3, and bring it downstairs in front of x. Then we subtract 1 from the exponent and get 3x squared. Can you see how that matches the power rule shortcut? What's the derivative of x squared? Well, we bring the 2 downstairs to get 2x to the something. For the exponent, we subtract 1 from the original exponent 2. 2 minus 1 is 1, and x to the power of 1 is just x. So the derivative of x squared is 2x. Can you see on your own that the derivative of x to the fourth is 4x cubed? Yes, the power rule is pretty easy. I'm arranging the exponents in numerical order, so let's go back up top for the derivative of x to the first power. Bring the 1 downstairs and the exponent becomes 0. Since x to the 0 is 1, the derivative is 1 times 1, which is 1. So the derivative of x is 1. This one's easy to see on a graph. The line representing y equals x is a straight line, whose slope is obviously 1. It all works out. Let me scooch over here to get more room. I'll sketch in x to the 0 and x to the first power so you can see that the pattern is kept. And speaking of pattern, let's go up top again to find the derivative of x to the 0. The 0 comes downstairs and the exponent becomes negative 1. Well, 0 times anything is 0, so the derivative is 0. And let's notice that x to the 0 power is 1. So this is a special case of the constant rule, which is that the derivative of any constant, such as 1, is 0. So the power rule and constant rule give us the same derivative for exponent 0. Pretty neat, it all works together and the rules are consistent. How about this one?
Imagine pulling up your neighborhood, spotting your roof, your street, even the landmarks around you, all in real time.
What's the derivative? X to the 0 and x to the first power, so you can see that the pattern is kept. And speaking of pattern, let's go up top again to find the derivative of x to the 0. The 0 comes downstairs and the exponent becomes negative 1. This graph, the line representing y equals x, is a straight line, whose slope is obviously 1. It all works out. Let me scooch over here to get more room. I'll sketch in x to the 0 and x to the first power so you can see that the pattern is kept. And speaking of pattern, let's go up top again to find the derivative of x to the 0. The 0 comes downstairs and the exponent becomes negative 1. Well, 0 times anything is 0, so the derivative is 0. And let's notice that x to the 0 power is 1. So this is a special case of the constant rule, which is that the derivative of any constant, such as 1, is 0. So the power rule and constant rule give us the same, such as a 0, 1. Well, 0 times anything is 0, so the derivative is 0. And let's notice that x to the 0 power is 1. So this is a special case of the constant rule, which is that the derivative of any constant, such as 1, is 0. So the power rule and constant rule give us the same derivative for exponent 0. Pretty neat, it all works together and the rules are consistent. How about this one? What's the derivative of the square root of x? Well, remember that the square root of x is x raised to the 1/2 power. The power rule isn't limited to integer exponents. We bring the 1/2 downstairs and subtract 1 from 1/2 to get an exponent of negative 1/2. Since x to the negative 1/2 is 1 over square root of x, this gives us 1/2 times 1 over the square root of x, or 1 over 2 square root of x. The fraction has a radical in the denominator, so we can rationalize by multiplying the numerator and denominator by square root of x to get square root of x over 2x. And that's the derivative of the square root of x using the power rule, which works for all real exponents, not just integers. Well, I've told you the power rule, but I haven't proven that it's true. Now I'll prove it with limits. Let's take the derivative of x to the n as the limit of delta y over delta x like this, as h approaches 0. Just like before, we have our over delta x like this, as h approaches 0. Just like before, we have our green and red y values. The most tedious part of this proof is expanding the green binomial. In this video's description, I put some links to videos that go into more detail on the binomial expansion. In short,
Signify Business Cash by Wells Fargo, the deliberately simple business credit card.
Gird your loins.
You got it.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Club.
Okay, as we all know, whenever we have a plus b squared, this is very easy. The answer is just a squared plus b squared. But have you ever thought about, what if we have some other power instead? Maybe let's say the power is n. In that case, what's a plus b to the nth power then? Oh well, before I show you guys this right here, I will have to come back to here and cross this out. Whoa! Because this is not correct, because this is actually one of the biggest mistakes for all the algebra students, right? And let me explain why. So here's the deal. When you have a second power, we can look at a square, and we can talk about this geometrically. So let's draw a square, and let's say this right here is A, so we make a cut, and let's say from here is also A, and let's make another cut. And I'll label this as A, and this is B, and likewise on the side, this is A, this is B. And we'll find areas of these rectangles and squares inside. Notice that the first one is just going to be A times A, right? Because we have the area of a square, and we get A to the second power. And notice, we are trying to find the area of a square. That's why the second power is also called the square. Anyway, right here, it's just B times A times B, right? So let's put on AB, and this right here, again, we can put on AB, A times B. And this right here is just B times B, so we have B to the second power, namely B squared. So, from this picture, you can see that A plus B squared will be, first we need 1A squared, and we need AB twice. So, we have to multiply by 2 with the AB. So let me put down 2AB like this. And right here, lastly, we have the B squared, which is just one of them. So let's put down 1B squared. Earlier, we didn't have the 2AB, therefore this was not correct. Horizontal line, this is not meant ever the case. 3, and this is n equals 4. So you look at the rule horizontally, and another thing you have to look at is this kind of diagonal, right? So it's power plus power. Yes, you are right. B to the nth power. We cannot just put the power n, put the power n right here, right here. It's not correct, right? And I will show you guys what we call the binomial theorem for this right here, and also show you guys as a bonus the generalized version of the binomial theorem. So be sure to watch the whole thing. By the way, if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Okay, now here's the deal. I will show you guys another one. Let's see, we have A plus B to the third power. In this case, what will we get? Well, yes, you are right. This right here is a square. You literally draw a square. When you have a third power, you will have to draw a 3D version, namely a cube. But I'm not going to draw that. I will just do this algebraically for you guys, okay? So draw the cube like the 3D version on your own, and you cut on your own, right? But you can also write this down 3 times and just multiply out everything if you would like, and I will tell you guys the answer. The answer is 1A to the third power n plus 3A squared b plus 3AB squared, and lastly we plus 1B to the third power. Don't worry, I will tell you guys what the secret is. That's the cool part, right? So this is A plus B to the third power, and let me do one more for you guys. Of course, the next one will be A plus B to the fourth power, and some of you guys might notice the pattern if you haven't seen this before, but anyway, the first one is going to be 1A to the fourth power, and the next one is going to be plus 4A to the third power, B to the first power, and then the next one is going to be plus 6A squared, B squared, and then we add 4A, B to the third power, and lastly, we add 1B to the fourth power. Some of you guys might see the pattern. This right here will go on like that, but I would actually go back a little bit because let's talk about the first power and also the zeroth power as well, so we can complete what we call the Pascal's triangle. So let's go ahead and go back. A plus b to the first power, truth to be told, this right here is the only time you can put a 1 here and 1 there, because it's the first power, the one of the boring power, right? But anyway, don't get too excited, it only works for the 1, and you end up with just 1a to the first power plus 1b to the first power. See how exciting is this, right? Well, I'll show you guys something that's more exciting. The zeroth power. When we have a plus b to the zeroth power, this is extremely nice because the answer is just nicely equal to 1, assuming the input doesn't become 0, right? So this right here is equal to 1. And now, if you guys look at all the red numbers, namely the coefficients, this is what we call the Pascal's triangle. And of course, I will write this down right here for you guys. So here we go. Pascal's triangle.
Low key, you F4 as fuck. I don't even know what the fuck that is. F4 plus. What the fuck is that, bitch? Think you a mom or some shit? I don't know what the fuck that means. Is that supposed to mean fat? You think I'm fucking fat, bitch? F4, is that supposed to mean I'm... The fuck you talking about? You think you're a model or some shit? I think that's just your brain. I think you're just talking shit because you think I'm like that. Jaylene. I still don't think that you're, I still don't think that you're 106 pounds. I think you're definitely 250 maybe. You're Mexican, so you're gonna blow up eventually. Oh fuck, my mic was off, you fucking assholes. Why the fuck didn't you tell me? Oh wait, you can still hear me though.
Check 1 2 check.
Pascal's triangle. So this is how you generate or how you construct the Pascal's triangle. You start with 1. And then next you
Check 1 2 check check. Check check check. Check check check. Oh, you can hear me now. Now you can hear me. Why do you weigh 250 pounds, Jaylene? Tell me why.
you go 1 1, right? So you just do 1 1. And next you are going to put down 1 2 1. So let's put down 1 2 1. And next you can put down 1 3 3 1. So I will do that 1 3 3 1. And without looking at this, in fact, to figure out the next row, this is what we do. For example,
this is what we do. I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I Your fire, the one desire. Believe when I say I want it that way. Tell me why. Jaylene is a bitch. She weighs 200 pounds. She larps as petite. But I know better.
Or when the green x plus h to the n is expanded, the first green term will always be x to the n, and the last green term will always be h to the n. Then, moving towards the middle, the second term is x to the n minus 1 and h to the first, prefixed with the binomial coefficient, which for the second term is always n. None of the other coefficients are important for this proof, but it's interesting how the coefficients of each green term follow a pattern revealed by Pascal's triangle. But that's not what this video is about, so see the links in the description for more information. Math is so interesting and...
Example, take a look at this tree. The reason we get this tree is because 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is the same as 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. Anyway, it's this 1 plus this 2 will give you the 3, okay? Likewise, this 2 plus this 1 will give you the 3. So for the next row, you end up with this and have some fun with it. But I think I'll show you guys this right here. It's much faster.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time.
Alright, here is the deal. Let's write this down, okay? So I will call this to be the zeros row, and I will label that as n equals 0, which will correspond to our exponents right here. And this right here is going to be n equals 1, and you guys get the deal, n equals 2, and then n equals 3, and this is...
Why are you nervous?
4.
I'm not nervous. Do I look nervous to you? I just bite my fingernails as a bad habit. Doesn't mean I'm nervous.
So you look at the row horizontally, and another thing you have to look at is this.
So what you got going on today? I already fucking did everything, bro. I went to boxing. I submitted an assignment for my fucking class. So I've just about done everything. Now I'm just fucking studying some fucking shit. Because later on in the month, I gotta do some fucking engineering work, dude. I gotta do some fucking engineering shit. You wouldn't know nothing about that, fucking Jaylene. How do I know you're not busted? Like, what if you're like... I'm just kidding.
No, right? So if you look at this right here, we will call this part right here to be k. And again, we start with 0. This is the first diagonal, k equals 0. And then for this right here is when k equals 1, and then when k equals 2, and k equals 3, k equals 4, and so on, of course. Right, so you have two directions to look at, of course. And let me just give you guys an example. For example, right here, how did we end up with this 6 right here, okay? Well, we have a notation for it. This right here is called the combinatorial notation. What you can do is, this is n equals 4. So you look at the row horizontally, and another thing you have to look at is this kind of diagonal, right? So if you look at this right here, we will call this part right here to be k. And again, we start with 0. This is the first diagonal, k equals 0. And then for this right here is when k equals 1, and then when k equals 2, and k equals 3. Look at this kind of diagonal, right? So if you look at this right here, we will call this part right here to be k. And again, we start with 0. This is the first diagonal, k equals 0. And then for this right here is...
My body looks like yours, only have tits. Bullshit. You don't look nothing like this, sorry. You're gonna have to show me some proof because I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You really think I believe you? Thinking that you look like this? Come on now. What a fucking lie. Think you could look like this? Not in a fucking billion years. You still haven't given me your socials, so I don't know what the fuck you're even doing. You're just playing around right now.
Is when k equals 1, and then when k equals 2, and k equals 3, k equals 4, and so on, of course. And so you have two directions to look at, of course. And let me just give you guys an example. For example, right here, how did we end up with this 6 right here, okay? Well, we have a notation for it. This right here is called the combinatorial notation. What you can do is, first you put down whatever the n is. So you have...
I got fucking biceps for days. You don't got this shit. I know for a fact you don't got that shit. No Mexican girl on earth has this shit, bro. It's impossible. Not in this reality.
4. And then you're going to put down whatever the k is. There's no horizontal line. This is not meant to be a fraction. It's just a parentheses with 4, and then you put down 2 like that. And the language that we'll be using to say this is 4 choose 2. And the way to compute this is, you see you have 4. You start with 4, and then you see you have 2. So you're going to have 2 numbers on the top. So you start with 4, and then you go down by 1, which is 3. And you stop. And then on the bottom, you start with 2, and then you do 2 factorial, meaning just go 2 and all the way to 1, which is just 2 times 1. And if you work this out, on the top is 6, on the top is 12, over 2 is 6. I said the answer before I tell you guys what to do. Anyway, this is pretty much the deal. You can imagine that this right here will be 4 choose 3.
Jaylene, I can't believe you broke up with your boyfriend just because he got a little jealous. That's some bull. Girls are on some other shit, bro. This shit's like, oh, that's not manly. You got the ick and shit. Typical girl. Typical for a Mexican woman of your caliber to be like.
If you work it out, 4 times 3 times 2 divided by 3 times 2 times 1. That will also give you this number in red, which is 4. So you can work that out on your own.
I'm not even paying attention right now. You fucking distracted me.
Start down with 4. And the way to compute this is 4, and then you put down 2 like that. And the language that we'll be using to say this is 4 choose 2. And the way to compute this is, you see you have 4. You start with 4, and then you see you have 2. So you're going to have 2 numbers on the top. So you start with 4, and then you go down by 1, which is 3. And you stop. And then on the bottom, you start with 2, and then you do 2 factorial, meaning you just go 2 and all the way to 1, which is just 2 times 1. And if you work this out, on the top is 6, 3 times 2 times 1. That will also give you this number in red, which is 4. So you can work that out on your own. So let me just write this down for you guys.
The Labrador Retriever and the...
I gotta use the bathroom. Give me 1 minute. Give me like 2 minutes. Okay.
This triangle will tell us the coefficients of each term. So I'm going to put that down. We need to know the n choose k right here. So let me write it down. We need to have the n choose k. And let's take a look of this right here. This term, right, this coefficient 6, which is corresponding to this term right here. So I need to put on the AB on the side right here as well. And now we have to pay attention to the power. Well, notice we have this 2 right here. Why? Because of course you see the pattern is 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0's power, right? Well, this 2. How did we get the 2? It's like saying 4 minus 2. You start with 4 and it go down by 1 each time. 4, 3, 2, 1 for the A. So I will start with whatever this is, right? If this is 17, this will also be 17. So if this is n, this will also be n, but you have to make sure you subtract whatever the k is. So we will have to do n minus k for the power of the A, and then for the B, as you can see, this right here is k equal to 3, and you have the B is to the 3rd power. So B is to the k's power like this. And the truth is that if you write this as A to the k's power times B to the n minus...
You look stressed? How the fuck do I look stressed, bitch? I'm fucking trying to concentrate. I'm trying to focus. I'm not stressing, okay? Fucking chill the fuck out. This is why I'm single, bro. Because if I had a girl yapping in my ear like this, saying, you look like this and that right now. You look like this. Hey, what's going on? You kind of look off. I'm focused on the fucking video. Alright?
This case power, that's fine too. Nobody will get mad at you because you can look at this backwards. Anyway, this right here is just one term of this expansion, but we do have many terms. So we are going to add them up because as you can see, we have multiple terms. Therefore, we are going to add them up. This is the summation. And you have to go from k equals 0 to whatever the n is.
You hostile as fuck? No, I'm not. I am not hostile, okay? I just got done boxing at the gym, so I don't mean to come off hostile. I'm just, coming off the boxing. So of course, after fighting, you're going to be still in that mindset a little bit. I'm not trying to fucking smack you around or whatever, but I'm just saying, dude. Loki, you a gentleman? I can see it. LOL. Yeah. See, I feel like the only reason why you're apprehensive to give me your socials is because I'm gonna be like, this chick is. That's usually what women are like. Because the second I see your face, I'm gonna be like, I don't know. It's like, is she worth it? When I talk to this girl. But, a lot of the girls who have talked to me on my stream have ended up being decent, pretty good looking, so I haven't seen a super not very attractive girl from my streams, so. But it doesn't matter anyways, because it's not like we're gonna ever meet.
So we'll write this down. K equals 0 up to n, right? So this is where the K is. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the so-called binomial theorem. And of course, I will write this down right here for you guys. Binomial theorem, which is...
Alright, I think I went past my hour here for studying math, so...
In this case, called this over. And this will also be n.
Let me go over one more proof.
Easy when you can see how it all fits together. The second to last green term will always have x and h to the n minus 1, along with the binomial coefficient, which is also n for the second to last term. All the terms in the middle, denoted by the orange box, are the remaining binomial expansion terms, and will have factors of h to a power of 2 or greater. That will be important for our proof in a moment. In fact, all the green terms, except the first two, will have h factors raised to a power of 2 or more. And there's still the red x to the n term we subtract at the end. Let's bring everything down and encapsulate the orange. We'll always have positive and negative x to the n.
You got friends, you're always by yourself. Not in Texas. So, well, not in Wisconsin either. So when I came down here, I met two people. I had to stop talking to both of them because one of them was revealed to be kind of not compatible, and she was kind of on some stuff, I guess. And then my other friend was into femboys, and I thought that was... As long as he kept that to himself, I don't know, it was whatever. But then he invited one of these femboys to our group chat, and I was not okay with that because, again, I'm religious, so I can't be having that stuff, that energy in my group chats. So I just had to cut off, dude. So you have friends in our states then? I used to. Back home, in quotation marks, because we're not really friends anymore, a lot of those people, so. Not really, no, I don't. I have internet people I talk to occasionally, but I don't think I would consider those people friends, maybe associates. I guess, the people who watch me stream are somewhat my friends, kind of.
So they'll cancel every time. Every remaining term will always have at least one h. Since the denominator is h, we can cancel an h from each remaining term. This leaves n times x to the n minus 1 plus the orange terms, which initially all had factors of h squared or higher, and now, since we divided through by h, they all have factors of h or higher. When we take the limit as h approaches 0, all of these terms approach 0, and we're left with n times x to the n minus 1. And so we've proven the power rule. Once more, the rule comes from the slope expression.
No, those are loyal subs. I'm talking about friends. They're not just loyal subs, okay? We talk... My loyal subs are my friends, okay? We talk and play games sometimes. I mean, that's a friend technically, right? So... Humans you've known in real life and spent time with? No, I don't have any. Not currently, no. Not currently. Not at the present moment. I do not. Like I said, I had one dude, but we're not friends anymore. I don't have a lot of people I talk to like that in real life. Like none. Like none at all. Oh, I see. You don't got no ride or dies then? A man only has himself and God in this life. So, yeah.
And is the pattern we notice every time we take the limit. So when we do calculus, we
have
don't
my
need to
condolences. Why? It's not a fucking sad thing. It's fucking powerful. Independence is enriching. It's peaceful. You get a lot of growth when you're by yourself. You get to understand things more. Sometimes I feel like with guys, when they're like, you know, in their adolescence, they dream up these fantasies of having like friends and like girlfriends and all that. And they're not really thinking about like the consequences of these things. Because I have had friends and I've had girlfriends, and it's okay. Like, it's decent. Like, there's good stuff to it, and there's plenty of bad stuff to it. So, it's like whatever, you know? It's just a life choice. It's a lifestyle. And depending on who you are and what your goals are, sometimes having other people can be a distraction or an obstacle even, especially when you're on the path to more self-growth. So if you there's guys out there, you know, when they get settled down and they're complacent and they're content with where they are in life and position, they get lazier, you know, they let themselves go, they stop caring about stuff as much. Their minds are not as sharp. Their bodies aren't as strong. They stop pursuing things as voraciously. They're not as hungry anymore. They're not as angry. And their ambition just kind of goes away, you know, and they just take life as it is, and it's whatever, you know. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but again, when you're a young, like 19-year-old fucking dude, and you're like fantasizing about good times with friends or like having a girl, like you're never really thinking about the problems that may arise. Like when you have a girlfriend, you're only thinking about the dates, the cuddling, the companionship, the sex, the whatever, right? But you're not thinking about the arguments. You're not thinking about the annoying shit. You know, because after a while of living with someone, if you guys move in together, there's going to be too much familiarity if there's not enough, you know, space, and you're going to end up resenting each other. That's why a lot of married couples, like, always fight, even up to, like, when they're fucking geriatric. They're not thinking about that shit. They're also not thinking about friends lying. They're also not thinking about backstabbers. They're not thinking about people who are just obnoxious, that have, like, ulterior motives. It's those things with other people. Like I said, it's not all fucking just like games, but it's it is what it is, you know. I mean, you get nice stuff too. It's always good to have that, but I always feel like when a guy is in his solitude and he really starts to focus and his goals become crystal clear and what he wants, that is where it comes into his own power, you know. You're getting independence confused with support. People need people whether you like it or not. That's just a fact. Well, I would say I've lived my life in mostly solitude for like most of it. I would say throughout my late teens and young adulthood now, I've spent most of it by myself, which at first you don't like it, but then after a little bit you're like, this is actually pretty good. You know, I like my solitude. So I don't know. I'm not super like, oh, I gotta have people, you know? Like, I like my independence. And, you know, having support, I have support. I have my family. So I definitely need my parents. My parents are 100% the people who I love and rely on the most, I think. You know, I can always call my mom up and talk to her. If I need support, my dad's there too. I talk to him. That's pretty much it. I have a brother, but we don't talk cuz he's on his own thing. So that's how it is, baby. That's the way we roll out here. That's the way the Taz rolls.
Take the limit, we just use the pattern. And the pattern for the derivative of x to the n is n times x to the n minus 1. Let me show you a visual interpretation of the power rule.
Some of these guys, by the way, you're not the only one to say some shit like that. Like, fucking Denzel and the other follower, Jose, are always coming here and they're always like, bro, where's your girlfriend at? Bro, you ain't got, what's going on? You never like go out, like no friends. Like, I do go out, first of all. I go to the gym, I go to boxing, do wrestling, and then I study, and then I draw and do all that shit. So my life is pretty busy, and then I have my job. Yeah, but who are you going to have when you don't have your mom and dad anymore? That's who I have. And the man in the mirror.
Intuition. The power rule tells us that the derivative of x squared is 2x. Let's consider the function x squared to be the area A of an actual square with sides of length x. The derivative of x squared with respect to x is the amount...
Oh, no, he's doing this.
The area derivative of x squared is 2x. Let's consider the function x squared to be the area A of an actual square is n times x to the n minus 1. Let me show you a visual interpretation of the power rule that should build your intuition. The power rule tells us that the derivative of x squared is 2x. Let's consider the function x squared to be the area A of an actual square with sides of length x. The derivative of x squared with respect to x is the amount the area changes per change in x. So if we let x change by this differential amount, dx, by how much does the area of the square change? Well, it changes by the area of these two narrow strips. This one has an area of its height, x, times its width, dx. So x dx. This one on top also has an area of its height, dx, times its width, x. So its area is also x dx. For the sake of completeness, let me point out this tiny corner piece whose area is dx squared. It's one of the orange terms from the binomial expansion that goes to 0 as delta x approaches 0.
True, but it's always good to have quality people. I haven't found a lot of quality people. That's why I've tried to, like, talk to more, like, Christians, because they have, like, a good moral foundation, unlike most people now. I don't really care for the mental weirdness. I don't really care for, like, people being immoral. I don't know. You're trying to cope with the fact that you don't, but that doesn't mean you don't want it. Well, everybody wants something, but you can't always get what you want. The only thing that I focus on, I mean, I'll still like talk to people. I'll still like go out and like talk to girls. In fact, I'm going to like when I have like a day off, I'm gonna go like to the park or something or the mall and just like talk to strangers whenever I get the chance to. So it's not like I'm not putting forth any effort. But at the same time, you know, I'm chill about it. Like I'm not gonna like I don't give a fuck. Like if it ends up that I do find quality people, that's good. But I'm not gonna be in fucking shambles or like be like, oh, you know, like that out of some shit. That's the difference between like a guy that has his shit together and is solid and a guy who isn't. Because if you're dependent too much on other people, it's not good. I'm trying to cope with it, bitch. Fucking cope with it. Bitch. Fuck you. Talking about cope. I'll show you fucking cope, bitch. I'm just kidding.
So at the limit, as delta x approaches 0, the change in the blue square's area, the differential of a, is the differential of our function x squared. This is the added area 2x dx. So the derivative of x squared, the change in x squared per change in x, is indeed 2x. To 0, the change in the blue square's area, the differential of a, is the differential of our function x squared. This is the added area 2x dx. So the derivative of x squared, the change in x squared per change in x, is indeed 2x.
You're distracting me again.
So at the limit, as delta x approaches 0, the change in the blue square's area, the differential of a, is the differential of our function x squared. This is the added area 2x dx. So the derivative of x squared, the change in x squared per change in x, is indeed 2x.
Okay. Got it.
Let's look at the derivative of x cubed visually. The power rule tells us that its derivative is 3x squared. Let's visualize the function x cubed as the volume of an actual cube whose sides have length x. When we increase x by the tiny differential dx, what happens to the volume of the cube? When we add dx over here, we get this new volume, a thin slab on this face, whose volume is the area of the face, x squared, times its thickness, dx. So the additional volume is x squared dx. You might see where we're going. We get the same additional volume on these other two faces for a total of 3, x squared dx. Because I've drawn dx with some visible thickness, you might notice these 3 thin regions having volume x, their length, times dx squared, their cross-sectional area. So their added volume is 3x dx squared. This last tiny volume has sides equal to dx, so its volume is dx cubed. These orange terms all go to 0 at the limit, but it's interesting to see that even they have a visual interpretation on the dx squared. This last tiny volume has sides equal to dx, so its volume is dx cubed. These orange terms all go to 0 at the limit, it's interesting to see that
Your name looks like it could be Sandro. You just say random shit, dude. That makes no fucking sense. Sandro? The fuck? Is that even a real fucking name? Sandro? Okay, dude. You're just talking just to talk now. This girl's talking just to talk now. Still no social media, so that's how you know she's 200 pounds.
that even they have a visual
200
interpretation on
pounds. Looks like Mr. Potato Head talking shit.
the diagram. So the differential change in the volume x cubed is 3x squared dx. This means the derivative of x cubed dx. So its volume is dx cubed. These orange terms all go to 0 at the limit, but it's interesting to see that even they have a visual
I
interpretation.
think it's the hair in the forehead. I think you need to shut up. See, this is why I'm single once again. Girls just like to be fucking annoying. They're like, you look like you could be this. You look stressed out. How come you're always by yourself? Like, you know what I mean? You sound like a fucking kid. It's like, bro, shh.
Interpretation on the diagram. So the differential change in the volume x cubed is 3x squared dx. This means the derivative of x cubed is the change in x cubed per change in x.
God damn it, I can't even pay attention.
The last tiny volume has sides equal to dx, so its volume is dx cubed. These orange terms all go to 0 at the limit, but it's interesting to see that even they have a visual interpretation on the diagram. So the differential change in the volume x cubed is 3x squared dx. This means the derivative of x cubed is the change in x cubed per change in x, which is indeed 3x squared, as the power rule tells us. To illustrate the usefulness of the power rule, consider finding the derivative of x to the fourth with limits. As you can see, the power rule is so much simpler and always gives the same answer. Once more, when we do calculus, we use these shortcut rules. We don't take limits. In a calculus course or textbook, you'll take limits only for the first week or two to demonstrate what the derivative means. But once you learn the rules of differentiation, you'll use them, and you won't find limits anymore. But I will still find limits in this video to prove the rules and illustrate some points. Now, we'll go over...
Alright, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. I've spent over an hour now. Oh. All right. All right, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram now. What's your Instagram, Jay Line? Jaylene. 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 I'm just going to look up Jaylene. See what profiles are on here. That you? Is that you? This you? Is that you? Guess not. Guys, it's gonna be 10:30. I gotta go in like 8 minutes. Does anybody want to say anything nice to me? Someone that's, I don't know, inspired by something good. I got some books. Simulacra, Simulacra, and Simulation. I don't know how the fuck to pronounce that. Simulacra, 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 Simulacra. Sounds about right. Simulacra and Simulation. And I also got Julius Caesar. I gotta return these books to the library. I think Jaylene is too shy to give me her Instagram. Jaylene's too shy, guys. Way out in the water, see it swimming. Man, why you push that girl away? What girl? What the fuck you talking about? Damn you. See, this is what I'm talking about. You be pushing people away? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? I don't push people away. What the fuck? When did you... At what point in time did you see me push someone away? That never fucking happened here. You're imagining shit. Pushing someone away would be like, hey, get the fuck out of here. At no point was I ever, like, pushing someone away. That's retarded. Pushing people away. You guys just say shit, bro. You telling her to shut up while she giving your little ass the time of day? Oh my god, bro. I told you I just got out of boxing. I didn't tell anyone to shut up. Damn. First of all, Denzel, can I be honest with you, bro? People just come in here and they just come and go. Like, I'm not pushing anyone away. Like, they know already from the jump that this is just a stream and I'm just like saying shit. Like, I mean, before you get defensive, you should think about that. You don't like women? I do like women. It's just like I said, I'm in aggressive. I'm recovering from boxing, so I'm in an aggressive mood. Like that's what I was on last time I got out of boxing, because I was talking to people in my group chat and I was pissed off because I just got done fighting. So I'm not trying to be fucking hostile and aggressive. I'm not pushing anyone away. I'm just talking. This is like a stream of consciousness, that's coming out of my mouth. So if sometimes, like, it depends on my temperament and my mindset. So right now, like I said, I'm a little out of it because I just got done getting hit in the head and I was punching other people in the fucking head. So yeah, but I'm specifically talking about certain women, and it's a contribution to why you single or alone. Oh my god, are you my fucking therapist, dude? Like, it is what it is. I'm never going to meet anyone from my stream, most likely. That girl lives in California. I live in Texas. Every person I've talked to on the internet, I've never met. Except, like I said, from dating apps. But those are all dead now, so it doesn't matter. If I am going to talk to someone and meet someone, it's going to be in real life. So you trying to be like, bro, what's going on? You fucking push people away. That's not happening. That's not happening here. This is just tomfoolery. This is just buffoonery. It's not some fucking like, oh, dude, you're fucking up. No, I'm not. This is just for fun. You guys, you and your little psychoanalysis of me, and it's just me having fun and talking. If that girl got offended by me saying shut up in a joking way, then it was never going to be a good substanceful friendship or whatever. Because if that is the thing that you don't like automatically, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Because that's just me joking around. And some people don't like my sense of humor, and that's fine. Like I said, it is what it is. I'm in an aggressive mood right now because I got out of boxing. I'm still recovering. When you get punched in the fucking head a couple times and you're fighting other dudes, you're punching them in the fucking face and the body. And then immediately afterward, your body's sort of like, in a funk. Like your mind is still like dazed from it, and you are a little more aggravated easily to get irritated. So that's why I'm like, oh, but like after a day or two, I'm going to be back to normal. And even so, this isn't that abnormal from what I usually say on here, because what I usually say on here is just bullshitting, So if you're getting upset, like I said, it is what it is. And a lot of people don't really fuck with my energy for long periods of time. Like max, they'll hang out with me for a few months. But, I'm a weird dude. I'm eccentric or whatever, and I'm socially awkward sometimes. So it is what it is. Saying being alone at 78 fun, like how the fuck do you know what's going to happen in the future? Like I said, nobody knows that. I'm not going to be like in some kind of fucking fucked up situation. I'm going to be fine. So relax. People come and go, Denzel. They come and they go. It is a revolving door of people. And it's just a cycle and it's a pattern. You know, I've had innumerable amount of people come and go out of my life. All right. This chick randomly coming in my stream for like 5 seconds is not skin off my fucking bones, okay? It just isn't. Like, I'm used to that. Like, it's... I've probably had... I can't count the number of people who have come and gone from my sphere, you know? It's you can't count it. I can't count for it. I can't, like, literally. It's probably past 100 at this point, and that's not an exaggeration. So me being kind of like nonchalant, stoic, saying I don't care, saying I'm coping with it, it isn't. It's like when your body gets used to like the coldness of water. That's how it's like for me and like other people now. It is what it is. You get older and you're like, whatever. I'm not jaded because, like I said, I still like am trying to talk to new people in real life because I don't care about the internet. I think it's bullshit and it attracts weirdos. So again, you are taking all this way to heart. Like, bro, you don't even know me, and with or without someone, I do just fine. Doesn't mean I'm gonna try to be a fucking hermit, but like I said, I'm not gonna fucking break down for that shit. I'm not gonna break down because one fucking girl decides she doesn't fuck with me. Fucking get in line. The ever-growing line of people that don't fuck with me. It is what it is. It is what it is. Even on this fucking stream, how many people have come to my stream and have like gone? Like, I only have fucking 3, maybe 4, 5, 6 consistent viewers. I've had maybe like 80 people or more come to my stream over the past, well, probably way more than that, past 2 years. So, you not understand what I'm trying to say? I don't see what I'm not understanding, bro. It seems pretty straightforward what you're trying to say. You're trying to say, bro, you're like pushing people. That's not happening. And also saying that I'm going to be alone, we don't know that, and you don't know anything about me. I don't know, dude. It just sounds like you're taking like one little instance to heart. You're taking one little thing to heart. And it's not that big of a deal. I got much more important things to worry about, my friend. Right now, I'm working on my engineering degree. I'm going to join a jiu-jitsu gym soon, along with my boxing. I'm going to be a fucking unit. I'm going to be a fucking unit. But I gotta go to bed, guys. So if no one else has anything to say or contribute, that is the stream. I'm trying to go to bed a little earlier so I can get up earlier. So if you enjoyed it, thank you for coming. If not, that's a big womp womp right there. I'm sorry. Sorry I couldn't entertain you. But, you know, we try. Alright, I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Probably around the same time. I work from noon to 9 tomorrow, so yeah, probably around the same time. Alright. Good night, everybody. Sweet dreams.